here's where I'm asking you to step in. And there's several ways that you can do this depending on your comfort level. First off, speak up in your conversations, on social media, wherever you can. Write your representatives, demand answers, call them. Share real stories, because here's the thing. Not the filtered headlines, not the us versus them, the human impact. How many stories do you hear when somebody makes an exception because of the immigrant in their neighborhood that they know? Well, that's every single one of them. Don't get lulled into thinking that this is just how things are now and we have to accept it, because it's not normal and it's not okay. We can't wait and see how this plays out. It's already playing out, and the consequences are happening to people right now. If we want a free country, we have to fight for everyone's freedom, even and especially for the people whose names we may never know, but whose humanity matters just as much as ours. This is Finding the Upside. If you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or business owner that can't seem to figure out what is blocking you from attaining the next level of growth in your business, then listen up. I'm Maria de Lorenzo Reyes. I've taken what I've learned in 30 years working inside multi-million-dollar corporations, building my own business, and consulting my clients, and discovered 5 themes that stop a business from scaling. I've created a tool to help you get the answers you need to get unstuck and unlock the next level of growth. Head over to scale.mariadr.com and click the link to get your custom Scale Factor Formula scorecard when this episode is over. Hey everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. I'm your host, Maria de Lorenzo Reyes, and I'm so happy you chose to join me today. You know, on this podcast, you guys know that I ask the hard questions. We together look for the truth behind the headlines and figure out how to make things better together. That's part of one of the pillars that you will hear and that I talk about, and it's part of my mission, as you know. About a month ago in my newsletter, if you're not already subscribing, many of you do, my Thursday newsletter, I share reflections about things that are on my mind, questions that I have that I often don't have answers to, and try to just start the conversation. Sometimes it is positive, empowering, uplifting things. Sometimes it's troubling things that I see that I want to shine a light on and help seek better understanding myself, and I know a lot of other people who I talk to feel the same way. And you know, right now what I want to talk about today is something that's going on in our country that I just can't unsee. I wrote about it in this version of the newsletter a month ago or so, and honestly, I don't know how so many people are able to unsee it and look away from it. What am I talking about? Every day I hear news stories, not just news clips, sound bites, but real stories of people being detained, people being deported, people pulled from their homes and workplaces under this big shiny label of removing illegals. But here's the thing. A lot of these people aren't undocumented. I can tell you myself, and I can share this, and I've shared it personally with others, that I've seen firsthand some of the documentation that's coming out of DHS that is removing legal status from people who had legal status. What am I talking about? That means they're not undocumented. They're not undocumented. We're talking about international students who were here on visas that were valid, doing everything right. People who are married to citizens petitioning in the process of the I-30, one process that I've gone through myself for my husband, that is suddenly revoked. People who had legal work visas, who were sent a letter and told to leave the country, that it's been canceled. Their work visa has been canceled, and they have 30 days to leave the country. People who I know, professionals that have had to remove their exposure online, even though They've had legal status, but it was revoked and removed, making people illegal. These are not criminals. These are workers who came here legally, working in industries that literally rely on them, that are just gone. People married to U.S. citizens that are grinding through that long immigration process that I know very well, now given 30 days to get out. They followed the rule. They followed the playbook, and now they're being told you don't belong here? What's really happening? These are not criminals. Over 80% of the people who were removed had absolutely no criminal infringements, no record, nothing. These people are not threats. They are human beings, people who in a lot of cases, by the way, left dangerous, unstable, and even violent situations to try and build something better here. They literally were escaping their countries, running for their life. And now they're being disappeared. And yeah, I'm using that word on purpose, being disappeared. People who sometimes are in unmarked cars, faces covered, which is complete Looney Tunes to me. And families don't even know where they've been taken. This isn't about enforcing immigration law. This is a crackdown, a purge. And to be honest, really look at this. It's a money-making machine for some private industries that are cashing in on it. Here's a hint. Why do you think they're masked? Because these are hired hands. These are people that have been given a contract, companies that are profiting. And we all know that there's big money in private detainment, in facilities that are being built, in money that's being spent, and people who are benefiting off of that. So that's all I'll say about that. But take a deeper look and think about it. You follow the money, somebody's profiting off this. Here's my personal reflection, and it's my personal reflection. I will definitely share more about my own experience with the immigration process, which, by the way, the legal immigration, being able to pursue that legally is complex, is burdened, and biased. We had our own challenges, my husband and I, following the right path. There is really no legal path to citizenship in our immigration system. Here's what I really want to share today, which is my personal reflection. I keep thinking about my own family. My grandparents, who came here from Italy in the early 1900s, 1910, something like that. They arrived with nothing but hope, grit, and a willingness to work hard for a better life. I will never forget that their choices to do that made my life very different, changed the trajectory of what my life could be. That's exactly what today's immigrants are doing. My grandparents and great-grandparents built this country, immigrants coming from Europe, Italy, Spain, France, Poland, all of the places, Ireland. It's the same story, just different years, different faces, and those people are doing the very thing that my ancestors did, is to help build this country. So why can't we see it? Why can't we see that it's exactly the same? None of us are native here, unless we're Native Americans. So somewhere, somehow, someone in our line, in our lineage, was an immigrant who made the choice to come here to make a better life for us. So why can't we see that these people are doing the exact same thing now? Why can't we see and admit that we rely on them for our food? They pick our food, they build our homes, they work in our healthcare systems, take care of our elderly and our children. They help build the infrastructure. Why are we turning our backs now? And here's the really dangerous part that I mentioned earlier. This administration isn't deported undocumented people. It's not deporting undocumented people. They're creating undocumented people. They're stripping away protections. They're revoking legal status. They're making people vulnerable and then pointing the finger at them like they did something wrong. Why does this matter to all of us? Here's the thing. I don't know how you could look away from this, but why does this matter? Here's what I need people to hear and really think about. If this can happen to people who followed the rules, it can happen to anyone. I don't care if you were born here, if your parents were born here, if your great-grandparents were born here. Systems that can take rights away from them can one day take them away from you. We're setting a very dangerous precedent here by looking away. So what am I asking of you? Because you know that I often ask you to be a rebel and stand up. Here's the challenge. Especially if you just celebrated the 4th of July with pride in your heart a couple of months ago. I'm sure many of us went to barbecues and celebrated America. But if you celebrated that with a flag on your porch, pride in your heart, I'm asking you to stop and really ask yourself, July 4th is celebrating freedom. But really, what freedom? Because if freedom only applies to a few, it's not freedom. And I know you've heard this several times, but I have to say it again. If we stay silent while injustice plays out in front of us, guess what? You're not on the sidelines, you're participating in it. So here's the call to action. Here's where I'm asking you to step in. And there's several ways that you can do this depending on your comfort level. First off, speak up in your conversations, on social media, wherever you can. Write your representatives, demand answers, call them. Share real stories, because here's the thing. Not the filtered headlines, not the us versus them, the human impact. How many stories do you hear when somebody makes an exception because of the immigrant in their neighborhood that they know? Well, that's every single one of them. Don't get lulled into thinking that this is just how things are now and we have to accept it, because it's not normal and it's not okay. We can't wait and see how this plays out. It's already playing out, and the consequences are happening to people right now. If we want a free country, we have to fight for everyone's freedom, even and especially for the people whose names we may never know, but whose humanity matters just as much as ours. This is finding the upside, and I'm looking for the upside in this really dire situation. And it is that we have the power to change this, and we have the power to speak up and stand out. I'm Maria De Laurentiis Reyes, and thank you for joining me today. Go out there and do something now. Thank you. All right, so I hope you loved this episode and found it valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you'd be so kind, if you know someone else that this will help, please share this episode with them. Just grab a link for this specific episode, text it to a friend or colleague so it can help more people like you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place on the Finding the Upside podcast.